right? It's important to figure out what is the philosophy of the person that you're joining, how is the lab that you're joining is run. That supportive environment is very, very important.
So we'll now move on to our next very interesting topic for every IISER, right? Getting a PhD.
Getting a PhD, acha, okay.
So, how did you get a PhD? What was the process?
As in getting into a PhD?
Yeah, getting into a PhD. How did you choose it?
Okay.
And what's the process like?
So, soon after my master's, I wrote the CSIR exam. I was not smart enough, like most of you people, to write it a semester in advance so that when you get your results, your CSIR is also out. I wrote it after my end semester exams, which meant that I had to wait for a year to join my PhD. So for me, there were one or two teachers who had done their PhD in my college. Of course, in my master's, everybody had a PhD. Bangalore University, all the teachers had a PhD. They were all formal researchers. And looking at them, there was some feeling that, okay, it would be nice to hear Dr. Prasad. Okay. I don't think even at that point there was very serious consideration of getting into science as a career. It was more about doing a PhD. The two are different, right? Getting a PhD degree versus falling in love with research are two different things, essentially. For me, it started out as the former. I wanted a PhD. It was nice to get a PhD. It was nice to be called Dr. Prasad. So, I decided to do a PhD. Family was supportive and they said, okay, fine. Because doing a PhD, even now and at that point, did mean that unlike your friends who were settled, you would be unsettled for a longish time, right? And not everybody can do that, right? But my family said, okay, fine, go ahead, do it. We'll manage, we'll do something. Don't worry about it. So therefore, I could do it. So I had to write a CSIR. I wrote a CSIR, and in between, while waiting for a PhD, I taught for a year. Then I applied for PhD at various places. I had option from two different places. One place was JNC. So I was interviewed. Now I know who the people who were interviewing me were. At that point of time, I had no idea. So 3-member committee, they called me in and they asked me, what have you done? Oh, we see that you have taught for a year. What did you do? So I told them. And I also told them that when I was a student, I did various things in the lab. Growing fruit flies and growing this, growing that. When I was a teacher for 1 year, with my students, I did the same things. So then Professor MKC looks at Professor Gadakar and says, oh, he has worked with fruit flies. Raghavendra, you work with wasps. Why don't you ask a question? I still today don't understand what is the connection between fruit flies and wasps and why Raghavendra should ask the question, but that's how it happened. For whatever reason, Professor Gadakar decided to ask me a question about 3-point test cross. Okay, linkage mapping. So I assume that I did very well because they finally, at the end of it, they offered me the position. I also had another position from another institute. So I had to choose. If I had joined this, then I would be doing evolution related work. If I had joined the other one, I would be doing more neuro related work. So I went and met both the PIs. And when I met Professor Amitabh Joshi, we had a chat. It was about a 2-hour long chat where we talked about science, maybe for 15-20 minutes. But the rest of it was about everything. It was about poetry and music and movies and literature and origin of Urdu language. Lots of things. At the end of it, I came out saying that, this man is right. I'll be able to work with him. Pure gut feeling. So my decision to join for PhD at JNC was based on this interaction and a feeling that, there is something right about this man. And again, if you ask me to explain, just like zoology, why did you like? I don't know. It's a feeling that this person is right. And I made my decision to join there.
So you mentioned you basically just followed your gut feeling with that professor. But like most of us, it's a very big choice.
I would not advise that. Okay, I just got damn lucky. That's about it. See, even now, seriously, when students come to me for advice, one of the most important things I ask them to consider, though I never did it myself, I now, in retrospect, realize how lucky I was. Maybe there were signals that I was picking up, saying that, okay, certain qualities exist in this person. But I think it is very important for students to look for a very supportive lab and a supportive PI. It is very important. And how do you know? Well, nowadays, either you can talk to your teachers who already know the person and the lab, or talk to the students who have been in the lab, right? It's important to figure out what is the philosophy of the person that you're joining, how is the lab that you're joining is run. That supportive environment is very, very important, right? Then I also get questions about should we join a foreign lab or an Indian lab, etc. More than any of that, I think it is important to join a very supportive lab and a supportive PI. Because this is a relationship that is going to persist for the rest of your life. And those 5 years when you're actually doing research, unless this relationship is good, PhD becomes very, very difficult, right? I don't know how many people would accept a situation where you're publishing in very high impact journals, but personally you are very unhappy. For somebody like me, I would not be able to tolerate that, right? I would need a supportive lab, even if it doesn't go to very high impact journals, as long as I'm doing good science, publishing good papers, right? That's fine, but I need a supportive lab. And I think that should be a very, very important factor in deciding your PhD destination.